Dennis MacDonald in my own home. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're throwing around this mic so that you can hear us clearly. Question from a patron, Stephen Burns. Thank you for being a Patreon member. Consider joining MythVision's channel today here on the Patreon. It helps us keep doing this. Can you explain the impact of Plato's allegory of the cave, world of forms, and asceticism on Christianity? Would Plato have been horrified to see his ideas be used in the ways religions used them? Because after all, he was still a Greek.
Yeah, he was a Greek and has connections with Pythagoreanism and Orphism and so on. I don't know how many of the viewers would understand the allegory of the cave. And to a simple answer to your question before I go into the allegory of the cave is that I don't think he would be entirely surprised, because already in Plato himself there is a kind of mysticism and a sense of religious practice that is modestly congenial. Now, it's not institutionalized the way that it would be later. The allegory of the cave is simply that the reality that we see before us, and whatever you see in front of you right now, including me, is a reflection of, is only shadows of a true reality. So it's as though all of us are sitting in a deep cave and are watching the projections of ourselves and reality from the mouth of the cave on the wall that we're watching. But it's up to the philosopher, by contemplation and philosophy, to turn around and to see reality as it actually is. And so the goal of philosophy is to realize that the reality that we see is a image, it's a print of reality, it's not reality itself. And by turning around, we can see the reality. Well, that has obviously deep religious potential of saying that the true reality is metaphysical. It's not what we see, it's what we can contemplate and imagine and put together philosophically. And that leads to lots of speculation in Platonism of what that reality might be. Now, of course, it can lead itself into Gnosticism, because Gnostics also believe that the world that we see is the work of a demiurge, a dark power, and that the true essence of the soul and of the good, the beautiful, has to do with philosophy, but also has to do with the revelation of the Redeemer, or the revealer of what are the realities at the mouth of the cave. And in order to do that, then there are certain ritual practices that are performed to make one more aware of those realities at the mouth of the cave. By the way, because of this understanding that reality that we see is not reality purely, is related to Plato's understanding of forms, that we have forms and the actual manifestation of those forms in matter, that the demiurge can create out of matter lots of horses because he knows what a horse should look like. This is the idealism of Platonism. And this is rejected, obviously, with Aristotle, who says, no, the forms are in the materials themselves. It's entelechy, and they have their own. We have to understand living organisms for themselves and individuality and all that. It's almost the origin of evolution. But your question's a very learned one. It's an important one. I think there probably is a relationship. I'm not sure that the allegory of the cave appears in Gnostic or other kind of a spiritual reflection. So I just am not familiar with it, and I'm not an authority on Platonism. But it's a very interesting question. And this notion that the reality that we see is not ultimate reality is very important in the history of religion, in part because for many people in the ancient world, the world they were living in was shitty. There was early death. There was childhood death. There was war. There was famine. There were floods. In some places was constant battle, and the world was a messy place. And the idea of talking about an ideal world with these forms and a spiritual redeemer and revelation was very attractive to people who were suffering that way.
And then just one more thing to have it highlight: asceticism. Do you see any influence or something from that?
Well, it's related to some extent in this way, that to the extent that the body is a part of the physical world and that the soul is a part of the spiritual world, some mystics had ascetic practices to train the body or to deny the body in favor of the soul. So yes, there is a relationship to that dualism in some forms of asceticism, not in all forms, but in some forms, that's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to sign up for Dr. Dennis R. MacDonald's Greek Mimesis in the New Testament course, Reading the Gospels with One Eye on Greek Poetry. Dennis spends 18 lectures diving into several parallels, building up the methodology to show you his methods and how he sees that the New Testament authors cleverly rewrite and really make Jesus such a better figure than what we see in the older Greek myths and their poetry. You can sign up today, own it for life. There are several hours, well over 8 hours of content in this course with 18 lectures. Dennis gives you so much to read and look up and consider in investigating. Did the New Testament authors actually imitate the Greek epics to write their narratives about Jesus? There's several reading recommendations, additional resources under every single one of the lectures. You can download 1 through 18 on MP3 in case you want to just download it and have it in your whatever the device might be in order to work and listen at the same time. You don't have to just see it. But if you decide to watch the content, it is all in 4K, extremely high quality content, as you can see.
And I did it from Greek, Latin.
The audio is nice and loud, takes you through his book. Dennis takes a deep dive. Be sure to sign up today. I hope you will. This helps Dennis MacDonald, and it helps educate the world on what's going on in scholarship.